Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. In this video, we as a group 8 will present to you a topic, namely the implications of Sharia compliance on audit.
Hi, my name is Ms. Nabiha binti Muhammad Safaya. Today I will present for the introductions. So firstly, what is the Sharia compliance on audit? So in 2010, Bank Negara Malaysia has introduced audit criteria for Sharia within Islamic financial institutions with the publications of the Sharia governance. Hi everyone. Hi everyone, my name is Musura Nabiha binti Muhammad Safia. Today I will present for the introduction. So firstly, what is the Sharia compliance on audit? So in 2010, Bank Negara Malaysia has introduced audit criteria for Sharia within Islamic financial institutions with the publications of the Sharia governance framework. So at the beginning, Sharia audit function focuses only on Sharia compliance. Then after 10 years, the Sharia audit function became mandatory. For the primary objective is to ensure that the management of an Islamic financial institution discharge their responsibility in relation to the implementations of the Sharia rules and principles as determined by the Islamic Financial Institutions Sharia Supervisory Board (SSB). So the important function is serve as a governance mechanism for Islamic finance as it ensures that Islamic financial institutions operate under Sharia law with fatwas, rulings, and clues. It was pronounced very briefly in the Sharia governance framework and showed that there is a lack of specific guidelines. So auditors should have a full understanding of all the essential elements, pillars, and conditions of every Islamic financial contract used in the current affairs of Islamic finance. So once the auditor understands the business of Islamic financial institutions, the appropriate techniques, and the scope of audit, only then he can design an appropriate audit plan. However, Malaysia still faces a shortage of knowledgeable Sharia officials, both Sharia and auditing professions.
Let's continue on how the Sharia compliance affect current audit work. Generally, most institutions worldwide, including Malaysia itself, are practicing the normal audit work. The normal audit work, which is conventional audit, does not consider the moral and ethical values prescribed by Islam, as it based on a system that is value-free. The basis in conventional audit is established in generally accepted accounting principles. This is to standardize the practice used across all industries and countries. Along with the increase in the number of Islamic financial institutions, IFIs, the Sharia audit is established. The main consideration of Sharia audit is the obedience to the Sharia principles and requirements. It is established to assess the Islamic law practice by the IFIs. So, how does it affect the current auditing work? Firstly, assurance and quality control become irrelevant to be implemented. This is because the Sharia principles and requirements in Sharia audit does not exist in the conventional audit. The conventional audit is insufficient in terms of fulfilling the needs of IFI stakeholders due to the lack of compliance on Sharia aspects by the implementation of internal standards on auditing. Secondly, the auditing works become more complex compared to the current auditing works. Sharia audit is conducted to offer a true and fair view regarding the financial statement of IFIs, plus their internal control is effectively in line with the Sharia. So the Sharia auditors must ensure that any product being produced or service being rendered by the IFIs does not violate the Sharia. Last but not least, a wider auditing areas to the Sharia audit. Sharia auditing areas are not limited to only the financial statements, but also need to include the human resource, the operational, organizational, and information technology.
That's on my part, which is how does the Sharia compliance affect future audit process? Basically, as we know that Sharia compliance has certain objectives based on the standard and compliance that affect the audit process. So there is meaning here that auditors need to understanding more in Islamic financial business and concept of contract used for various types of services in Islamic finance. Because as we know that Sharia compliance have its own criteria which is related with halal business concept. The first implication on Sharia compliance that affect on future audit process, it is related with investment policy with the Sharia criteria. So the explanation in here, which is Islamic financial institution cannot invest, whether through financing or share purchase in the companies which engage in non-halal business. So the policy has to be consistent with it, where the Sharia is a part of encompassing corporate strategy to be approved by the board. For example, like auditing of investment items. So the audit team will focus on appropriateness and the relevance as well as the accuracy of the amount invested. However, after Sharia compliance, the focus will also be attributed to the operational and transaction of invested party that transgress or bypass any Sharia regulatory requirements. So that is why it is important the investment policy to comply with the Sharia criteria during the auditing process. So the next, it is Sharia audit will be point of similarity for both external and internal audit. So the explanation in here, which is mean, Sharia audit will widely cover both the financial and managerial of the entity, such as, for example, like check random samples of completed transaction to ensure that transactional conform to Sharia guideline and the rules. Based on Sharia regulatory, there is meaning here that a deeper explore about internal audit will make us to realize that internal auditing is just not about examination and evaluation of entities' activities, but to give an independence and objective assurance as well as consulting activities that comply with the Sharia regulatory. So it is meaning here that the approach is to improve the effectiveness of risk management control and governance processes of an entity.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurmaisara binti Nurman. I want to continue the presentation about how does Sharia compliance affect audit profession. First of all, Sharia auditing is one of the vital elements in achieving the objective of the Islamic law by every institution that could lead to growing awareness among Islamic institutions. Therefore, Sharia compliance will affect the audit profession in real situations to create an effective Islamic law obedience in IFI. The audit profession received the audit profession received great concern from the financial researchers due to the Sharia compliance issue. When the audit profession complies with Sharia, the auditor will do auditing with assertion about religious and socio-economic action and events which already stated in the Sharia principle. In conducting Sharia auditing, auditors shall have several standards or criteria with a verified form to ensure the auditor can apprise the information. The information used by the auditor needs to be supported with evidence whereby the auditor information was in line with the criteria on the guideline of Sharia audit evidence. If not, each of the non-compliance of Sharia principle will expose IFIS to the risks such as reputation risk, poor image, and also legal. When it comes to the internal auditors, the additional scope in IFIS is they have to make sure that any business transaction entered by the IFIS is not prohibited by the Islamic law compared with the conventional audit, which is only to review and give reasonable assurance. Thus, it depicts the necessity of having adequate knowledge and skill related to Sharia compliance among internal auditors of IFIS. The needs of acquiring professional qualification is Sharia plus experience will help the auditors to be better managed and conduct. This not restricted to only the IFIS transaction but also the current auditing work in conventional audit. This will help to ensure the competency of audit profession.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Atika Farhana binti Mansur. I will talk about what should be done to help prepare in facing the issue. Sharia compliance audit is conducted to enable the Sharia community to voice an opinion that the operations of IFIs are carried out in accordance with the fatwas, rulings and guidelines. In Malaysia, Sharia advisor is responsible to ensure that all products, services and related agreements and policies have strictly adhered to the Sharia principles and fatwas. The practice of Sharia auditing is still considered an insignificant priority for IFIs in Malaysia, regardless of the fact that Malaysia is currently in the process of becoming a one-stop center for Islamic banking and finance. First of all, Malaysian Institute of Accountants, or the regulatory body in charge of IFIs, should be assigned to take the responsibility of identifying and implementing a robust and integrated system for auditing Sharia. So this is to cater the growing number of IFIs in Malaysia. Regulatory bodies in charge of the IFIs shall prioritize the development of Sharia auditing guidelines and framework, as major difficulties to implement the Sharia auditing is due to the absence of complete and proper Sharia auditing frameworks and standards. Currently in Malaysia, there are only two standards setting organizations involved in the Islamic finance industry, which are the Islamic Financial Services Board (IFSB) and the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions. Another way to help prepare in facing the issue is University Accounting Department shall include the Sharia auditing courses in the syllabus or producing graduates with double majors in accounting and Sharia. Primarily because of the lack of experience, external auditors were reluctant to take the responsibility of ensuring Sharia compliance. The lack of both Sharia and accounting expertise and knowledge has told the Sharia auditors vital needs to this day. Those with accounting knowledge tend not to have Sharia knowledge and vice versa. Therefore, the establishment of Sharia auditing courses at the degree level will promote the involvement of the external auditors in the industry.
So for the conclusions, if these issues are still not resolved, the net improvement of the Islamic banking and finance business could be screwed. The implementations of Sharia auditing need to be addressed even at the educational level, where the human capital in terms of the practitioner to the Sharia auditor itself must firstly be resolved. For example, University Accounting Department will include Sharia auditing courses in the core curriculum or produce graduates with a double major in accounting and Sharia. Last, the important is Islamic financial institutions should be tasked with taking responsibility for identifying and implementing a robust and integrated Sharia audit system. That's all. Thank you.